Hey, and I'm just going to do a cut here because this will help me with editing. So, Baz, tell us a little bit about your history riding motorbikes. Tell us a little bit about how you came across God Squad. What did that journey look like, and why did you get involved, like to where you are today?
Okay. So my history of motorcycles starts when I was 7 years old, when I rode my first Z50, the monkey bike.
The old Z50. I started on the Z50. That's
the
so cool.
Z50R. So within a year we had a Z50. We had an XR75. Then I got a Suzuki, the TS185.
Yeah. Nice.
I got the TS185, and when I started work, my boss said no motorcycles because his nephew had broken his neck and become a quadriplegic.
Yep.
So we secretly had motorcycles. And then I broke my arm really badly on a dirt bike track.
Oh, no.
Just clearing the doubles that happened.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, the damage was so bad in my hand, and I was a musician as well, the damage was so bad, I could not pull a clutch in for 12 years.
Wow.
That's how bad the damage in my hand was. I couldn't play guitar, couldn't surf, just took me right out.
Yeah.
And then, in the year 2012, I was asked to be the chaplain for a surfing border riders club. And that was my dream. And I just felt the Holy Spirit say to me, don't go. And I was like, you can't do this to me, God.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
This is my dream. And then that night, it was a week later, my Bible study teacher, he was the director of Tabor College. He was like the chief theologian.
Yeah.
He said, I had a dream about you last night, Baz. He goes, you were riding a Harley Davidson, wearing a leather cutoff or a leather vest.
Yeah.
And he goes, and there was fire coming off your bike and it was touching all these riders behind you. And he goes, and that fire was the Holy Spirit. He goes, does that mean anything to you? And I went, really? Like, I've got dirt bikes, you know?
Yeah.
And then I met a United Church pastor who wanted to know how to get back in the youth group in schools. Turned up at the church I was working at, knocked on the door, opened it up. He's this grubby-looking biker, right? I can say that because he was my overseer.
Yeah.
This real grubby-looking biker bloke. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm the pastor at the United Church. And I looked and I saw God Squad on his thing, on his cut-off. And I just felt the Holy Spirit say to me, you're going to join this. And I went, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I want to be the chaplain of sand shoes border riders.
Yeah.
And Gary will tell the story that I just kept ringing him, saying, mate, I can feel the call, just like you wouldn't believe. And he goes, oh, well, this is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, well, mate, you might, but anyway, it was.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly difficult, and it was it's not an easy journey coming into a club, even a Christian club.
Yeah, for sure. And what are the things that you really value being part of God Squad? How long have you been part of it now?
So, been a member for 7 years.
Member 7 years.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you really value as a bloke, as a husband, as a father? What are the things that you really value in God Squad?
I think the realness and rawness of Christian men.
Yep.
It's real. It's real. It's warts and all. And the things you go through, you can't just throw Christian platitudes out there.
Yep.
So I love the brotherhood.
Yep.
And as you can see today, the wider brotherhood.
Yeah.
The global brotherhood.
Yep.
Knowing that you can talk to people all over the world about the mission and ministry Jesus is calling you to, but you can talk about your own stuff that you're going through.
Yeah.
You got hundreds of people that ask you, how's your daughter going?
Yep.
You guys okay?
Yeah.
I love the fact that my son, particularly my younger son, can look up and say, you know what, Christians are real and Christians struggle.
Yep.
And Christians do real ministry
Yep.
in some hectic places.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They hear stories about overseas and all the missions and ministries in other countries.
Yeah.
But here we are reaching out to the edges as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Has your journey with God Squad, has that been a catalyst, or has that played a part in your real desire to help the disadvantaged and the poor and the lonely and that sort of thing?
John Smith's book, his books, I should say, had a massive impact on my understanding of the work of centre to the margins with the church, and understanding how somebody could go from seeing the church and its four walls and everything that needs to happen, but not seeing the need for not just evangelism, but as the book of James says, don't walk past someone and say almost, peace be with you, I'll be praying for you. Actually
do something practical.
Do something practical. But Ron Sider was a very progressive theologian, and I heard him speak at the TIR conference once, and I thought, Ron Sider said, this is not what I expected him to say. He said, it's good building a well in the village, it's good helping people. He goes, but without the gospel, you're just sending people well watered to hell. I was like, wow, man, that's just like, pretty, you know what I mean? So it's solid. It's both and all the time.
Now that's really cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing with us, and it's really cool to be hanging out with you guys in Sydney today and being part of, we're going to have a great night tonight, and I know there's some presentations happening and that, which will be really cool. But we just, as part of Long Riders, we just love hanging out with you guys, love what you're doing. Great to hear stories, to hear God's moving, even when you weren't really looking for him, he was still planning to heal your daughter. He was still moving in your family, and when you weren't looking to serve the marginalised, he still had that for you. He had that calling for you. So it's really cool, Baz. So thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for being vulnerable too. I know some of the things you've shared are really close to your heart, and it's evident that God's really continuing to work in your family, man. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate you too, and the perseverance of the saints.
That's it.
You know?
Cool.
Yeah.